Good evening. It is 8 o'clock in London on February 28th. We are in the Tate Museum. I have some directions here I'm going to read. I may not use them all. Broken symmetry, light, heavy, draw form, the space between, walk, move object. The prop moves you. Draw around your objects. Draw the space between. Turn upside down and sideways. Draw without looking. Show object, tell a story. Artist as anthropologist. Place two ideas side by side. What am I afraid of? Find a scene from a film. Play it. Present your version. Talk a bit about parades, banners, sticks, politics, etc. Feel the weight of your body. Nothing empty. No goal. Raise arms up and down while walking, as in a series of stills in a film. Be aware of others in the space. Move in relation to others. Double your speed. Triple it. Stop. Imagine a floor plan. Move among large shapes. Distance. Signal near and far. Telepathy. Magic show. Ask a friend to give you a sentence. Add sound. Fragmented. Crushed. Turned inside out. Condensation and displacement. Mask. The stage. The place. Write a story. How did we make this? Just begin. Space of the monitor. Hidden space. Get long floppy sticks from the lumberyard. Poles. Work with poles, with trees, with blocks, pieces of wood tied to your feet. Hold blocks, hit them together overhead. Medium of water. Move as if at bottom of the sea. Great pressure. Blindfolded. Edge of sea. The deep sea. If I could remember, it would be simple things. I think I'll skip to the end. Actually, it's part of my list. Exchange movements. She flaked along, hesitating, almost clumsy, never completing a gesture. Body part by part. Where does it take you? Wait, lean, fall, warm up, relax. That's it. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
We're lucky to be staying live in the performance room now with Joan Jonas, and you can put your questions to Joan. You can do it via Facebook, Twitter or Google+. We've got quite a lot of questions coming in already from people, although I haven't got the iPad to read them all. Thank you. Sorry about that. So I was going to have to intuit them then. Joan, firstly, thank you so much. That was beautiful, really beautiful. I was lost in the world you conjured in here. Okay. We're getting comments and questions from people watching all around the world. We've got one, first of all, from somebody called Leanne Bell in London, who wanted to ask you, how do you feel? Do you get nervous even performing without an audience? It's quite a strange experience.
Yes, I do.
You do?
Because the timing is different. You cannot begin a little bit later, and you do it and that's it. There's all those factors. So in this particular instance, there was split-second timing in relation to the video. So, you know, if I did this more than once, I wouldn't be nervous, but this is the first time.
How does it compare performing, kind of knowing that people are watching online, compared to feeling the presence?
I haven't absorbed that yet, but it's different. The audience, you feel the presence, the warm presence, and here it's daunting because you know there's people you don't know that are there on the other side of the camera. But I like it. I think it's very interesting.
And somebody asked actually specifically about that, watching from Alexandria in Egypt. Are you imagining us watching you?
I love to imagine you watching. No, that's to me so exciting. That is the exciting part, that people from all over can watch something. So that's very interesting.
How does it compare to the experience of being in your studio when you're performing to camera, which you've done quite a lot, like in your loft?
Well, there's not the pressure in my studio performing to the camera.
But that's something you do. You've done
I do.
To rehearse
I'm very used
this.
to performing directly to the camera. So in that sense, it's something that I do always. But performing in this situation, it's not an easy setup. The audience can't see the technology that's involved, which I find interesting. It's complicated.
That's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked a question, how has the audience changed from the 60s to the present?
Well, it's gotten well, somebody just said they're in Alexandria, so that never would have happened in the 60s, believe me.
The global audience.
Although, you know, there were conversations via various devices, but it was a much smaller audience, and it was really depending on which city you were in, so, you know, it was very local in that sense.
There's a question from Beth Jones in Ohio, who asked about the music, actually. Do you collaborate with a composer, and who composed the music? Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, Jason Moran composed the music, and then Ande Sambi composed the songs. And I collaborate. This is music that we developed for a piece I just did, Reanimation. But it's a collaboration because we work it out together, really. I mean, it's his music, but we work together on which music works and doesn't work. And then I edited this soundtrack, so if he is watching, I hope he liked my edit.
And how it went with the video?
Yeah, well, that
Did
was
you pace?
Yeah, it was very deliberate.
Orla Smith from Dublin's asked, are you inspired by mid-17th century phantasmagoria, magic lanterns and the macabre?
Totally.
She thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Janine Van Veen asked, is this the first time to do a live performance online?
Yes.
Yes, you took up our crazy suggestion.
I was very I have to say I was nervous all along. And it put a lot of pressure on me to try. It was a good challenge. And now
it's hard
I'm
to say
addicted.
Probably at this moment how you feel.
Yeah, I think I have to absorb it.
Yeah, and
I have
maybe
to
when
take
you
it in.
watch it back
Well,
too.
yeah, I'm kind of dreading that.
It looked good from where I was sitting. Sarah Jane Marston sent a question. What's the symbol of the crystals that you used?
They're
in the
not
film?
symbols, they're crystals. You know?
No, she was asking what's the symbolism of using crystals.
Well, it's not a symbol. I mean, I don't think about symbols, but I use crystals because I was working reanimation. It was concerned with snow and ice, and so of course crystals. Ice is made of crystals, and so I saw these in a lighting store and decided to use them. So they don't have. They're not a symbol. They're actually representing crystals.
What they are.
They are.
How do you?
Although they have
you're
connotations.
very. I mean, the piece has had quite a different combination of textures in it between the paper, the wooden sticks, paint that you've used on the back, and that projection of a sparkling crystal. How much do you feel that this quality of textures can translate onto the screen? Is that a reduction for you from the live experience?
No, because paper can make. It's all about creating kind of. I hate to use the word magic, but yeah, paper can be used in many different ways to create illusions and spatial situations, and it can change the space and the color. I use paper a lot. I think it's a wonderful material.
I mean, I love the way in your work you combine the most kind of primitive form of making art in drawing and painting.
Yeah, well, I like
new
to go back to the
technologies.
basics
Yeah.
and juxtapose it against high technology. That's really.
There's another question actually on this theme from Juan da Costa in Madrid, which is what inspired you to do drawing without looking? Which I remember you doing in a talk we did at Tate many years ago.
I
You
think
said,
that
is it a metaphor for how we go about our lives?
maybe. I mean, yeah, it could be. But well, I like people to read things in their own way. But I think I began doing that when I began to work with the closed circuit television, and I would draw looking at the monitor. You know, I would draw here and there'd be a camera on my hand and I'd look at the monitor. So I began drawing without looking, and I'm very interested in how the drawing turns out that way. So it's a kind of device. So I've used it on and off in different ways.
Is it related at all to how Jackson Pollock made paintings and that interest in sand drawing? No, it's the antidote.
No, actually, I never thought of Jackson Pollock as a. I mean, he's a genius. I love his work, but no.
Something else.
It's just my thing. I mean, of course it's related. Artists have always, in many cultures, worked with drawing in the sand.
Yeah.
And drawing
That's what
on
I was
the floor.
thinking.
Yeah, drawing. For me, it's more related to. I saw Maya Daren's Haitian footage, unedited at one point. It was 4 hours long. Of people drawings over and over again with white powder.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember your lines in the sand that you performed here, where you were drawing in the sandbox.
Yeah, but also Mirage. I made a lot of. Well, that was on a chalkboard. So.
We've still got lots of questions coming in, so I'll try and push through some of them. Carol. Do you get lost in your work? That's a good question, because I got lost in your work when I was watching it. But do you get lost, and what's your state of mind while you're moving?
There's two things. I mean, for instance, tonight is the first time, so I was really having to concentrate on my movements and picking up and putting down in the right place. As I would do if I did this many times, it would become more of a kind of magical place for me to be. But when I do it for the first time, I can't get lost, or I would miss my cues.
So you need the repetition to get lost? Well,
I have to pay attention to all the cues. I mean, I'm looking at the TV cues, the sound cues. You know, each movement depends on the cues.
So actually,
I hear the phrase once, twice, okay, 3 times I have to stand up and move over, you know, so. So
it's actually kind of a myth about performance art that it's spontaneous and authentic and one-off.
Well, maybe some people.
In this case.
It's for some, not for me.
No. Ben Byford in London has asked, what's the hardest thing about being a performance artist today?
At my age, physical.
Yeah, you were dancing a lot.
No, I shouldn't say that, actually.
No, you're doing pretty well.
The hardest thing about being a performance artist.
Well,
sometimes it just seems so complicated. You have to have so many things. I did say
you did say you wished you were drawing.
Well, I would just like to paint or draw.
Yeah.
Instead of.
Yeah.
But then once you do it, it's worth it. That's where I always have that.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's going through the process is.
It's
not
like
necessarily
torture, you know.
really.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
A little
now
bit.
You're out the other
No, don't
side.
worry about it. It's okay.
I feel bad. Sorry, making you do it. Kathy in Nottingham says, Joan, does this relate to the early performances you did on video?
In some way. I mean,
But
my
it feels-
persona, you know, but I'm moving much faster. I'm jumping around in a very different way. And, you know, it's from, also everything has happened. In that way, everything has gotten faster edits, you know. Like in this situation tonight, we had to have 30 seconds to, between me being here and us coming back. It's just split seconds that we're getting used to, you know, and I think I've responded to that a little bit. And then I made this video that's very fast moving that I had to perform with. So my early work was slow and a little bit more languid.
Yeah, because you said this is the shortest performance you've ever made, and we were talking about the kind of density of attention online. Somehow
well, you
shorter
know,
feels
you feel
longer.
that you have to keep the audience's attention. I mean, you could do nothing and keep the audience's attention. There are different ways.
Yeah.
But so this is my way.
Because as you said, people are kind of surfing between different things all the time, so it's a different.
But I wasn't really thinking about keeping the audience's attention, but in a way, it's a factor.
Yes. Holly Slingsby in London has asked, can you talk about the flatness of digital space in relation to other uses of mediation in your practice? I mean, it kind of relates to what we were saying about the texture of paper and everything, and you did use the different projection surfaces a lot, the things you were holding up.
Well, when I first saw this room, I thought it was smaller than I imagined. But yeah, I always try to do, space is something that's always concerned me. So I had to work it out right here in the last 3 days relating to this space. And I've always fought against the flatness. Television is flat. You know, early television was flat. Not like film. Film has depth. So it's something I've always been fighting against, and how to create the illusion of depth. Like when you look at a painting, it's an illusion that you're seeing of depth. So that's the way I think about the flatness. And I don't really, for me, I'm not thinking differently about digital or what came before.
But it was always a concern of yours to somehow inhabit and kind of sculpt space within the image, within the flat image. Yeah, I mean, I think that really came across. We have a few more questions coming in. We've got a little bit more time, so do send them in if you've got more. But there's one here from Pedolano Contravento. He's asked, what's the relationship within or between images and paintings? Is painting a point of reference for you? I mean, apart from
I've always
painting you do.
Loved to look at paintings. You know, when I was studying art history, I looked at paintings and sculpture. But so painting in a way, and I use ink and paint and other liquids. That's my painting. I don't ever make a canvas with paint. I don't paint in that other way. So I make linear paintings, but I don't call them paintings. I call them drawings.
Yeah, because you've used, as in the juniper tree piece that we've got on display upstairs in the Bigger Splash show, it feels as though actually the ritual of making them is as important as the result.
Well, that's how they're made.
That.
You know, because I make them, and I'm not really thinking about what this is going to look like. So
even with these fish drawings, which are so beautiful.
No, I mean, I'm trying to do something. But I never. The reason I like to do them in performance is because they come out so strangely.
I think, well, it looks as though you know somehow what they're going to look like.
Well, I have, I have a sort of a template, and I have a fish book that I look at. But when I'm doing this, I'm not thinking about which fish is this or anything. I'm just. There's
a pleasure in doing.
I mean, it's a different way of working than making something that looks sort of like the original. It's a further transformation.
Alejandra Buena asked, Do you feel performance needs to be more in contact with new technologies? I always remember you as the first person I knew who had a BlackBerry smartphone. So you've always, I mean, you were early on using video.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But I think, I'm not sure how far I'm going to go, but yes.
But you are quite fascinated by and adept with and
No, I think that
using
the way I
technology.
see technology, or any technology, it's a device, it's a tool. So it enables you to do something. For me, it's about working with the image in relation to the technology.
I mean, I like the fact you don't seem to see a conflict between that and, like you say, the most primitive forms of image making.
Well, it's our way, you know, it's a contemporary, this is the time we live in, as far as the way we translate those things into form.
Yeah. Felix Rios from Valencia in Spain. We've got lots of questions coming all the time, sorry. What would you like to experiment with in upcoming performances with technology? Where next?
I have to absorb
Maybe this is far
first.
enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was something I have to think, yeah. It was interesting to do this. Well, I've always thought, actually, I've always been interested in the possibility of something online. I mean, people have been doing that, broadcasting from their lofts or their homes and putting it out on the web. I've never done that, and I think I'm not sure I would do that, but it interests me. This forum interests me because I think it's an interesting way to reach an audience and to communicate. So,
you're not interested in net art, in making work that is about that technology per se. It's more. It's not using it as a tool.
Yeah, I haven't really delved into that in my work, but I'm interested, but not.
But actually, using it this way doesn't feel a million miles away from how you'd use
video.
No,
this is exactly the way I always work. So it's not a new thing in that sense.
It's a different take on the kind of solipsism of performing to video, though, as you say, for knowing that there is an audience out there, somehow imagining there is, but not seeing them. It's a strange double situation.
I like it, I have to say. To be able to communicate. I mean, it's very magical that I'd say you're friends. You know, I hope some of my friends are watching. But friends or people that you've met once, or even that you don't know, are somewhere in the world watching. It's amazing. I've never had that experience. Yeah. So.
Speaking of which, we've just got time for one or two more questions, I think, from people in different places. There's one from Rye Coalition. That's a strange one. Do you think you might have been a musician in a former life? The music was a really powerful part of it.
I hope so, that's all I can say.
And Alice and Laura, how do you practice for a performance like that?
I improvise. For this one, I spent about a month making the video, the music, creating a situation, then working in front of that and with the music. The music really inspires me. And then I improvise and I collect movements, objects, actions, and then I practice and practice and practice. That's really.
Did you feel you had enough time to practice it? No.
Well, no, I mean, I could have, but yeah, we had just enough time. It's always.
It looked like you
sort
did
of just
enough
time.
Yeah. I think we've just